Welcome back. We continue right here with the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call Pittsburgh CW. And now we're going to tee it up with the Ruth's Chris Sizzling Shot. I told you about it before we went to the commercial break. So today we have one at Ligonier Country Club. We were out there today at Latrobe Memorial Stadium, and in going there, when I go the way I go, I pass Ligonier. And number 7 today is a 145-yard par 3. Well, congratulations to Joe Griffith. A 7-iron right into the hole. So, Joe Griffith, you are outstanding winner of the Ruth's Chris Sizzling Shot. High five for them. Go to Ruth's Chris 6 PPG Place downtown, home of the sizzling steak, and that was a sizzling shot. So we'll do that every time we get a hole in one. Like I said, lately there have been a lot of them. Give us a shout. Let us know what you think about these events and more. We talked a lot at 6 o'clock tonight on KDKA-TV about the Steelers' revamped defensive approach to their secondary. You know, they made a lot of changes. Let go of Mike Mitchell, Robert Golden, William Gay, brought in Morgan Burnett. They moved Sean Davis to free safety, and they also drafted 2 other safeties. So they got a lot of different options back there, and they hope some of these guys really hit, because over the years they've had a hard time coming up with productive cornerbacks who they drafted, you know, with expectations that they would contribute. Most recently, Senquez Golson was one of them. They have a lot of guys, Shaq Richardson, thinking he could be a difference maker. And I think with the exception of Artie Burns, there haven't been many in the last 8 years that have contributed as draft picks in the secondary, and they certainly need that to happen. So we have a lot to get into. Let's begin by going to Jeff in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Right.
You're looking dapper, dazzling, and debonair as always.
I like that. Trifecta of D's. Thank you.
Yeah, alliteration. Big fan of it. Hey, I was just talking about Francisco
Cervelli.
Cervelli, right. Some more alliteration. It's kind of like he's in Pittsburgh Pirate purgatory here. What do you do with him? You can't really catch him anymore because of the concussions. You can't play him in the field. Is he marketable? Can you sell him off? Can you get some back?
I think that's.
What do you do with him?
Well, hopefully he plays, because he had a pretty good productive beginning of his season. Thanks, Jeff, for the call. 9 home runs. He has good numbers with regard to catchers. He does. And he was having a good offensive season with regard to catchers. Now, we saw recently where they put him at first base trying to give him ground balls and, maybe to prolong a career, or at least give him an opportunity to play more, but he's really not the kind of offensive force you need as a first base option. You know, you hope his concussions just subside, but when you go behind the plate, you never know what's going to happen. Those foul balls come at you sometime, ricochet off your face. You can go, I remember talking to him last year, he says, you can go months without getting one of those, and then all of a sudden in a week you get 10 of them. And he's been dinged up pretty good. So at this point, he is somebody they just hope gets on the mend and is able to play. I like he and Diaz as a 1-2 punch. Diaz has certainly taken ownership of his position when he's in there. He's played well this year, which is nice to see. But as far as trading him, I don't think you get much value because he's had a history of concussions. He makes $11 million a year, unless the team is very desperate for a catcher and believes he can come in and help them for the rest of the season. We will see. Let's go to Bob in Indiana. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Pretty good, Bob. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Anytime.
Hey, I don't know if you could touch a little bit. I'm not quite sure of the rules and regulations on bringing up players, for instance, with Dickerson and Marte. You don't know if they're day by day or what, but, tonight it really hurt them because they couldn't play them. Can they bring a couple players up for a few days, or do they have to send them down like on a 7-day disabled list to bring somebody up?
You have to be on a disabled list. You cannot do it. Or you have to create the roster opening, and that would be created by a disabled list designation. And I don't think those guys are in jeopardy of being out long term, and so far they haven't made a move, to that end. And if they did, then you can bring up somebody else. But I guess for right now, they're operating shorthanded because both can't play. Although Marte was on deck tonight after David Freese, if he was called upon, so that's a good sign that he would have pinch hit in that game. Matt in Evans City is up next. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey, Bob. Good. How about you?
What's up, man?
Love your show.
Thank you.
Really awesome. Yeah, I want to ask you, do you think that the Pirates can keep up with the Cubs for the division, or do you think it's too far in the season?
I think it's too much to overcome. I do. I think 8 games, unless they just really go to town on head-to-head meetings, it's going to be very difficult for them to do. The Pirate season has been weird, and thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. It started off so well. And then they go in the middle of the season, and they go 14-31, and you think they're dead, and then all of a sudden they pop 11 games in a row on you. So they're back in it, at least from the standpoint that they are a team that can make up some ground in the wild card, I think. You still have to go over several teams, and that's not easy. But I think the division is the Cubs right now. Brewers are going to make a little bit of a push here, but again, the Pirates have to deal with two teams, not just the Cubs, but the Brewers as well. So it takes an awful lot of digging out. And when you fall that far behind, and I think they were 12.5 out at one point, now they're, moving, you're going to be 8 if the Cubs win tonight, and that's still a long way to go, unless you clean up head-to-head. All right, let's go to line 4. That's JR in Cooperstown, New York. Hey, JR, how are you?
That's Cooperstown, Pennsylvania.
Okay, well, I just saw Cooperstown. I thought maybe you were calling from the Hall of Fame capital of the baseball world.
Okay, all I want to do is say the Pirates do something. What specific positions would they trade for to help their team?
Well, I think at this point, if they're going to do anything, to me, it would be minor, and it would involve their bullpen. Unless they want to make a play for a guy like Chris Archer of Tampa Bay, who is out there. And I think if the Pirates are looking at somebody who can help them in the pitching department, because quite frankly, if you look at all of their pitchers, they're all okay. None of them has distinguished themselves as an ace. They all have ups and downs. They're all inconsistent, 1 through 5. If you'd like to get someone better than that, you'd have to give up something to get it. Are they willing to do that, number one? And number two, if they do it, they don't want a rental player. They want someone who has signed beyond this year, and I think Chris Archer fits that bill. It's a salary they can handle, and I believe he has 2 options at the end of it. So that's the kind of player I think they would be looking at. Let's go to Mike in Sharpsburg. Mike, welcome to the Sports Call. How are you?
Oh, yes. Good evening, Bob.
Hi.
Hi. 2 questions for you. One about the Pirates, one about the Steelers.
All right.
One about the Pirates is, do you think our GM is actually going to make a trade or two to help us actually push to make the wild card or even possibly win the division? And my other question about the Steelers is, if Le'Veon Bell is not going to be there or report, other than James Conner, who else do we have? I'm just going to hang up and let you listen.
All right. Well, they have guys back there, Fitzgerald Toussaint, who you know about him. He's been around. He had a decent playoff run when they eventually lost in Denver, and it was his fumble in the fourth quarter that hurt them a lot in that. Jalen Samuels is a draft pick they brought in, and I think they have good expectations for him, but it would be James Conner to start with. It would have to be they'd have to believe that, and he got dinged up in OTAs, minicamp, and he lost a lot of time there. So, Le'Veon Bell is their option, and he has to be what he wants to be and what they want him to be for them to complete what they hope is a successful season en route to a Super Bowl appearance. Bell has to put up big numbers in the passing game and in the running game, and if he does that, he's going to get exactly what he wants, and thereby will probably look back and say he played the market correctly, that he wanted to set this stage so he can get 2 years of franchise money, and then he's young enough where he's still going to get a 4 or 5 year deal, similar to Todd Gurley, maybe exceeding Todd Gurley, because I think he's better than Todd Gurley. And we'll see where they go from there. But James Conner is the guy who's next up. I think they have a role for Jalen Samuels, not sure what it is, but other than that, a lot of guys who've been here done that. They also have a couple of guys they have left over from last year's team, and I don't expect them to be anything but complimentary players. Line 1 we go. Justin and Butler. Hey, Justin, what's up? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I just was going to ask Bob on the show what he thought about David Freese coming back here, getting his first.
I think that improves his trade value, right? I mean, if
I would definitely say that it does improve his trade value. Yeah, he actually put up
5 runs batted in one night. He hasn't done that since 2012. So, thanks, Justin. What I do think is that Neil Huntington is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here because, ideally they don't want to deal with Mercer going to free agency. They just don't. They believe they have a guy in the minors who's capable of coming out here and starting. And you look at Jordy Mercer, he's a good player. He's a solid player, but he's middle of the pack when it comes to shortstops in a lot of different categories. So by virtue of being a free agent, his stock will go up a little bit. He'll make more money than they're paying him right now, and I don't think they want to go in that direction. Should they? I'm of the belief that when it's time to spend, if you believe a guy can help you on a consistent basis, you should spend what the market bears. But they may not want to do that. And I think Josh Harrison's another guy. He could be a nice role player for somebody who is in a playoff situation. He can play a lot of positions. He can give you versatility, and there may be value in that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens on July 31st next week. 412-575-2600. Jim in Moon Township is next up right here on the Sports Call. Bordas and Bordas Hotline. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
I'm great. How are you tonight?
Very good, very good. Hey, just read some rumors that Josh Harrison might be rumored to go to New York for Sonny Gray. Any truth to that?
Well, I know Sonny Gray was a guy last year that a lot of teams wanted. The Yankees, I'm not sure what kind of year he's had. I haven't really seen his numbers consistently. Is he had a down year? Or
he's had a down year, and they're saying he's not really a fan favorite, but with Happ going to the Yankees recently, seems like they freed him up, and Harrison would serve the role of being both, infielder, outfielder, especially with Judge out for the next few weeks.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them. He got hit in the hand, much like Marte, and they're saying, 3 to 4 weeks with him, and that's a big loss. But they have enough ammunition there. They should be fine. But, yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Jay Happ was somebody a lot of teams wanted, and the Yankees stepped up and got him, and he's had a decent year. Really, that's the guy I thought the Pirates should have signed right after he came here and did well for them. He proceeds to go on, signs $13 million a year, which is very reasonable in the market, and he wins 21 games for Toronto. Last year was not so good, but this year bounced back for 10 wins. We got to take a break. We have Diane, we have Matthew coming up next. Your calls are welcome. 412-575-2600 right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week, Pittsburgh CW.